Hello everybody, Happy New Year and welcome to the channel. In this video I'm going to go through 5 cold hard truths that you need to know in order to be a musician in 2023. For those of you that are new to the channel, my name is Liam Peter. I've been a guitar player and musician for over 12 years now. If you like this video, do give it a thumbs up, and if you want to see future content, do subscribe to the channel. Back to the video. The first cold hard truth you have to know to be a musician in 2023 is that you have to put in the hours. You have to practice. There is no other way around it. And this really shows. And if you don't put in the hours, everyone is going to know about it, no matter how many excuses you make. I've been in many band situations where, everyone, knows the song. Maybe they don't have it all perfect, but still everyone has put in the hours and they kind of know what they're doing. But there's always like one guy in it who you just know that he hasn't put in the hours or hasn't even looked at the song or even barely knows how to play it. There is nothing worse than that. And there's nothing worse than seeing someone in your band fumble their way through a song and all that, and the stuff that's coming out is just, it's barely recognizable. No amount of kind of nonsense and excuses is gonna cover that up. So yeah, you have to put in the hours. So whether you want to be good at a particular technique or a particular skill, or whether it be learning a song, you have to put in the hours, and sometimes you have to do a bit of graft. It's not always going to be easy. But that's just the truth of it, So sometimes you have to take the good with the bad. So yeah, that's the first truth, is that you have to put in the hours and you have to practice. The second cold hard truth of being a musician in 2023 is that you have to be consistent. You have to be consistent in your practicing as well. So it's no good, say, just practicing 5 hours in one day and then not picking up the instrument for another week. You get better over doing it you are going to be better doing it a little bit over a long period of time than doing one block and then not touching the instrument for ages. Sometimes, it's all concept of little and often. You're better doing little and often than doing a whole hog and then never even seeing the instrument again. So there has to be some degree of consistency. Now, it doesn't mean that you have to do 3 hours literally every day. So sometimes, you might only do 3 hours in one day and then you might do 2 the next day. Either way, there's still a certain degree of consistency. You're still really in in intent. You're still applying yourself quite intensely. So yeah, you have to show some consistency when it comes to the mastery of any kind of instrument, really. So yeah, that ties in nicely with number 1. Actually, you not only have to practice, but you have to be consistent with it. The third cold hard truth of 2023 is that some people will be shitty to you. Simple as that. It doesn't matter how much of a nice guy, nice girl that you are. Some people are just going to be pretty garbage to you. So whether it be management, record labels, agencies, bandmates even. Yes, bandmates. The last band I was in, sort of the last major band I was in, if you can call it that, the band ripped me off by not disclosing the finances and being sort of aggressively deceptive about it. And that's even more hurtful in a way, because you expect your bandmates to have your back, So it's even more damning all of a sudden when you don't get paid the money that you are owed. Or because your bandmates are deciding to kind of be a bit coy about the finances. But obviously, it does happen in bands, probably more than you think, actually. But it does tend to happen with kind of more outside forces. So whether it be agencies, whether it be management, or just anything like that, and it can be just anything, whether a promoter, it doesn't promote the gig properly, or whether or whether management owes you money, or whether, some people just don't want to shell out, and some people just don't want to pay you. And that's going to happen. Unfortunately, it doesn't, even with the best will in the world, I think it's always going to happen. There's always going to be some outside force that does try to rip you off for your hard work. So yeah, that's a truth that I think everyone has to come to terms with at some point. It doesn't matter how much of a nice guy or nice girl that you are. There's always going to be some outside force that wants to kind of take advantage of that, and you have got to stand up for yourself in those situations, or better off just not associate with those people at all. avoid. The fourth cold hard truth of 2023 is that it will be hard work. I'm not going to sugarcoat that in any way. It's going to be hard work. Now, obviously, it's something that you should be dedicated to, passionate about, and love. But like with all things that you love, they do come with their fair share of hard work, and it's not always going to be. You're not always going to enjoy it 100% of the time, but you should be enjoying it most of the time. So it's a combination of it being obviously worth something, but being a labour of love as well. So I think a lot of people are sort of expected to be. I think maybe they do expect it to be easy in a way. Even when it comes to trying to play the instrument, even when it comes to trying to master the instrument, it's not always going to be. Sometimes it's going to be a bit of a frustrating experience. I remember when I was a kid, I was trying to like learn something or get something down, and I mean, I loved practicing and I loved playing, but it was just like, it was frustrating at the same time, and it was hard work, but it's that labour of love as well. So yeah, that's the fourth truth of 2023 is that it will be hard work, but it's worth it. And finally, the fifth cold hard truth of 2023 is that having an academic background does not make you a better musician. So this is a bit of a funny one for me because obviously I'm someone who has been through the music academic system. So I've been to college, I've been to university, I've been there, done that, got the t-shirt, got the paper. And, I'm glad I did all that. There was some of the greatest years of my life, really, because it was just years of just intense study and being on a course about a subject that was really passionate about. And that's the reason why you should be doing it. You should study music or anything because you can't see yourself really doing anything else. And that's because that's your number one interest. But this idea that once you graduate that you're automatically going to be sort of better than everybody else, I think is I think is pretty weak, to be honest. In fact, I've got a story about that. I was busking on the street and this girl came up to me and lectured me about my strap height. I've got a video about that which you can find on my channel, and it's she tried to kind of give that, she kind of tried to back that up with her academic credentials, saying that she'd been to college, she'd been to university, and it was silly. It really was. And I was just standing there thinking, I didn't have a response at the time either, although I should have done. And I was just standing there thinking, well, you're not fooling anybody. It's just like, I've got the same as you. So, what are you trying to prove? So trying to back up so that's like kind of the worst thing you can do, to try and kind of give people advice or to lecture people about certain musical habits, I guess. And back that up with your own academic credentials. It's kind of trying to gain superiority over somebody. So like I said, that's probably the worst thing you can do. I've been to university with a lot of musicians, and some, let's be honest, were just mediocre. You know what I mean? They were kind of they were good musicians but they weren't kind of like, they didn't kind of really stand out in any way. Equally, I have played with musicians who haven't really, studied on an academic level, who are fantastic. So it kind of proves the point that you don't necessarily need to go into it's not that you don't need to go into academia, but it doesn't mean that academia is going to automatically make you a better musician. It's ultimately how you apply yourself to the craft and how much you practice, how much you're dedicated to it. So that's going to be more of a determining factor than as to whether you've got letters after your name or not. So yeah, I think that about wraps that up. So that is 5 cold hard truths of being a musician in 2023. I really hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, give it a thumbs up and leave any thoughts in the comment section down below. For future content, please do subscribe to the channel. All the best for 2023, and I'll see you in the next video.